They struck her across the face in front of 20 recruits and half the training staff. Called it an accident. Laughed. Told her to shake it off. But if you hit a Navy SEAL, you'd better hope she stays down, because Lieutenant Commander Tara Reeves never stayed down. She waited. The training gym reeked of rubber mats and old sweat when Reeves walked in. Late afternoon sunlight cut through the high windows, painting thin golden blades across the dust-heavy air. Four recruits grappled on the mats, grunts, thuds, the steady percussion of bodies colliding. Each impact reverberated through the cinderblock walls like a drumbeat. She took everything in the way a soldier reads a battlefield. Chief Petty Officer Dolan stood too close to the recruits, barking orders more to hear himself than to teach. Marson was laughing at nothing. The younger instructors loitered on the sidelines, watching instead of helping. The recruits themselves moved unevenly, some focused, some lost. Reeves had seen this pattern before, instructors who confused noise for leadership, who believed respect came from volume instead of precision. Her gaze locked on a petite recruit, Private Chen, barely 5'4", sparring with a man twice her size. He tossed her down again and again while Dolan yelled, "Do it again," as though repetition could fix bad technique. Reeves watched 3 failed attempts before she moved. At 37, she carried herself with quiet gravity. Not flashy, not loud. Her dark hair was tied tight beneath a black instructor's cap, her fatigues were rolled to the elbows, boots planted with a subtle limp in her left knee, a rebuilt joint, not weak, just altered. The kind of detail people noticed but didn't mention. Dolan turned as she approached, chest puffed with the kind of confidence born from volume, not merit. Well, Lieutenant Commander Reeves," he drawled. "Didn't think rehab would spit you out this soon." "Rehab clears faster than gossip," she said evenly. A couple of recruits snorted. Dolan didn't. He gestured toward the mat where a tall recruit was crushing a smaller one in a bear hug. "Looks like we need a demo. These boys still think size wins every time." Reeves already knew where this was heading. "You want to show them how it's really done," he goaded, flashing his grin to the peanut gallery. "Textbook versus reality." Without answering, she crouched beside the recruits instead. "Reset," she ordered, calm, precise. "Same grip, lower your center. Don't overpower, redirect." Her hands demonstrated the movement, efficient, unshowy, everything Dolan's theatrics weren't. He laughed behind her. "Guess the textbook talks back now." She ignored him, but the room's air tightened. Not respect yet, just the silence before someone crosses a line. And Dolan always crossed lines. "Commander," he said louder, "some of these techniques look great in manuals, not so much on the mat. Maybe the recruits need proof." "They're learning fine," she replied. He waved the trainees off anyway. "Let's give them a real show. Reeves and I, demo time." She faced him squarely. "That's unnecessary." "What's wrong?" His smile was a dare. "Worried I'll tweak that knee again?" "I'm worried you'll teach them something worth unlearning." Quiet laughter rippled from the sidelines. Dolan's grin widened. "Just a friendly spar, Commander. For education's sake." The recruits cleared space. Reeves unclipped her cap, went barefoot on the mat, expression unreadable. Dolan bounced on his heels like a man 20 years younger. The stopwatch beeped. "Go." He lunged. She sidestepped, redirected his weight, and dropped him cleanly. "Textbook." He hit the mat with a grunt, the room murmured. She stepped back. "Reset." But Dolan didn't reset. He came harder, grabbed, twisted, torque deliberate. She countered, smooth, professional. His pride didn't like it. He feinted a grapple, hooked her ankle, and swept her legs out. She rolled, controlled. "Enough," she said quietly. He ignored her. Another grab. She parried. Then, too fast to brace, his elbow smashed across her face. A sharp, wet crack. Bone against bone. The gym went still. Reeves staggered, one hand rising to her cheek. Blood traced her lip. Dolan froze, breath heavy, realization crawling in late. The recruits stood motionless, some stunned, some pretending not to see. Reeves straightened. Wiped the blood with her thumb. Demo's over. And she walked off the mat. No shouting. No scene. Just silence, the kind that replaces air when everyone knows they've just seen something break. The hallway outside the gym buzzed with fluorescent light and recycled air. The smell of sweat and disinfectant clung to the walls, a sterile echo of everything wrong inside. Lieutenant Commander Tara Reeves walked with slow, measured steps, boots striking polished concrete in even rhythm. Her jaw throbbed, but her breathing never wavered. She didn't go to medical. Paperwork didn't fix culture, it just hid it under signatures. Instead, she turned down the locker room corridor. The room was empty, just metal benches, gray lockers, and the low hum of old pipes. She faced the mirror. The bruise was already forming beneath her left eye, deep purple blooming under pale skin. Her lip had split cleanly. She turned on the tap, rinsed the blood away, watched it swirl pink down the drain. For a moment, the mirror reflected someone else. Younger. Standing knee-deep in surf. Coronado. SEAL selection. Men twice her size shouting over crashing waves. You don't belong here. Saltwater in her mouth. Sand grinding against her knees. And an instructor with a prosthetic leg standing beside her, half buried in the foam. Never fight their noise, he'd said. Outlast it. You don't earn respect by demanding it, you earn it by not breaking. The memory dissolved into the hiss of running water. Reeves shut off the tap. She sat on the bench, unwrapping her hands slowly. Outside, the muffled rhythm of drills resumed, boots, grunts, orders barked too loud to mean anything. Her phone buzzed on the bench beside her. A message from her sister in Sacramento, a first-grade teacher, civilian life miles away from this one. How's the knee holding up? Reeves stared at the screen for a long moment. Her sister wouldn't understand, not the elbow, not the silence afterward, not the way everyone looked away. In her world, conflict ended in HR reports and quiet apologies. Here, it ended with bruises and silence. She typed back a simple reply. Good. Getting stronger. Then set the phone down. Patience, she'd learned, was its own weapon. You could win fights through technique, but control? Control made people like Dolan nervous, because it couldn't be baited, couldn't be broken. She opened her locker. A black binder sat on the top shelf, CQB evaluations, tomorrow schedules, safety protocols, instructor pairings. Her name was printed neatly across the top. She flipped through the pages until she found what she needed, Phase 4, Reaction Control Drills. Blindfolded Combat. Reflex-only response. No ego, no anticipation, just reaction. Everything recorded. Every movement timed. Every instructor evaluated by the same standard Dolan ignored. Her finger traced down to the fine print, all instructors must demonstrate mastery before teaching recruits. No exceptions. It was protocol, ignored by many, feared by most. But tomorrow, it would become her classroom. She closed the binder softly and leaned back against the locker. The plan was already taking shape, not revenge, not payback. Just balance. Let the system speak in its own language, discipline, precision, exposure. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Petty Officer Hayes. Dolan's already spinning it. Says you couldn't handle full contact. She didn't reply. Didn't need to. Tomorrow, the mat would answer for her. Reeves looked up at the mirror again, studying the bruise. Then she smiled, not with anger, but with intent. Revenge was emotion. Emotion was noise. But lessons left echoes. And tomorrow, she intended to teach one no one would ever forget. The gym was spotless the next morning. Reeves made sure of it. She arrived before sunrise, long before the noise, swagger, and smell of coffee filled the building. She flicked on the lights one by one, a sterile white hum sweeping across the mats. The air was still, heavy with that pre-drill silence that feels like a held breath. At exactly 0700, the recruits filed in. Then the instructors followed, slower, louder. Chief Petty Officer Dolan entered last, all swagger and smirk, jaw freshly shaved, confidence freshly polished. Petty Officer Marson trailed behind him, chewing gum, already laughing at something no one else found funny. "Morning, Commander," Dolan called, dragging out her rank like a joke. "You here to demonstrate again?" Reeves stood centered on the mat, clipboard in hand, voice even. "No demonstration today. Phase 4 begins now, reaction control evaluation." Dolan raised an eyebrow. "That the blindfold dance?" "Blindfolded contact reflex," she corrected. "Minimal force. Zero escalation. You move only when touched. No preemptive action." Marson snorted. "So, don't fight until someone hits you?" "Exactly. Discipline isn't about how fast you hit. It's about when you don't." She set 2 black blindfolds on the mat. "We'll start with the instructors." The room went still. Every recruit straightened. This was new. No one spoke. Chief Dolan. "Petty Officer Marson," Reeves said calmly. "Step forward." Marson hesitated. Dolan grinned. "Us first? What are we, the warm-up act?" "You're the standard," she said flatly. They kicked off their boots and stepped onto the mat. Reeves waited until they had blindfolds on, black cloth tied cleanly over their eyes, then spoke. "Hands relaxed. Breathe normally. React only to contact." She touched Dolan's shoulder lightly. He moved, instinct, grabbing for her arm. "Wrong." She parried, used his own weight, redirected his balance, swept his legs. Thud. He hit the mat flat. A few recruits inhaled sharply. Reeves said nothing. She moved to Marson, tapped his elbow. He flinched, swung wild. She ducked, caught his wrist midair, twisted, guided him down in a controlled pin. Her knee landed beside his sternum, close enough for him to feel the restraint. "Reset," she ordered. "Round 2." She touched Dolan's wrist this time. He jerked away, trying to overpower her. She flowed with it, effortless, redirected the torque, and sent him down again. He grunted. The mat shook. Marson's turn. She brushed his shoulder blade. He reacted too fast, overcorrected. She used the momentum, folding him forward in one smooth motion. Another thud. Silence. By now, the recruits weren't whispering. They were watching, transfixed. Round 3. Dolan's breathing grew heavier. Sweat darkened his collar. She touched his collarbone. He tried to trap her hand, an old habit, but she slipped it, pivoted under his arm, and took him down again. Precise. Controlled. Unmistakable. Marson followed, tensing up before contact. She waited, let him anticipate, then tapped his knee and collapsed his stance from beneath. His balance folded like paper. Round 4. Dolan lost control of his temper. The moment she touched him, he exploded, full aggression, full strength, trying to overwhelm her with speed and force. She absorbed it, turned, dropped low, and came up behind him, redirecting his drive into momentum that flung him forward. He landed face first, gasping, disoriented. Still blindfolded. Still beaten. Still loud, but out of breath. Marson's turn again. He tried to hold perfectly still this time. Overcorrection again. She brushed his lower back, and with a simple redirection, sent him sprawling forward. 5 rounds. 5 takedowns each. Not one wasted movement. By now, the recruits weren't watching a drill, they were watching a lesson. Reeves removed both blindfolds. Discipline, she said evenly, isn't reacting faster. It's reacting right. No ego. No guessing. Only control. Dolan's jaw flexed. His face was red, his pride bleeding more than his body. Reeves turned to the group. You all saw what happened yesterday, she said quietly. I didn't shout. I didn't retaliate. I waited. She glanced down at her clipboard. And today, I responded. No one clapped. No one spoke. But every eye in the room told her they'd understood. The gym doors slammed open. Lieutenant Phelps entered mid-stride, uniform rumpled, clipboard clutched like a shield. His shoes clicked sharp against the mat. I was told this was a standard eval, he barked. Not whatever this is. Reeves didn't flinch. Standard reaction control drill. Blindfolded discipline assessment. All cleared by your own signature, Lieutenant. He blinked. What? The recruits stood silent, Marson still catching his breath, Dolan visibly shaken. Phelps opened the binder on the bench, flipped pages, his own name staring back at him under Section 7, Subsection C, Instructor Evaluation Requirements. His signature. Date stamped 3 months prior. His jaw tightened. This is about yesterday. This, Reeves said, voice level, is about standards. The same ones you approved. You're using protocol as a weapon. I'm using protocol as it was written. He looked at Dolan, disheveled, humiliated, then back at her. You've made your point. They're exhausted. You've embarrassed them in front of recruits. That's enough. Discipline isn't about embarrassment, she said. It's about demonstration. They've seen it. Have they? The silence returned, heavy, electric. Phelps stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're playing a dangerous game, Commander. Reeves met his gaze. No, she said quietly. I'm teaching the one they forgot. The command briefing room was colder than the gym. No noise, no smell of sweat, just polished floors, white walls, and the faint hum of an old projector. Lieutenant Commander Tara Reeves sat straight-backed at the table's edge. Across from her were Chief Dolan, Petty Officer Marson, Lieutenant Phelps, and the base commander at the head, gray-haired, stone-eyed, motionless. On the screen, silent footage looped. Frame by frame, Dolan's elbow came down. The moment of impact froze, the instant where blood first marked Reeves's cheek. No one spoke. Phelps leaned forward, hands spread on the table. Sir, with respect, the incident has been misinterpreted. It was part of a live demonstration, no malicious intent. Commander Reeves misread the tempo. The commander didn't move. Is that so? He pressed a button. The footage replayed, from a different angle this time. The slow-motion arc of Dolan's strike left no room for misinterpretation. Controlled, aimed, deliberate. Chief Dolan, the commander said quietly. Explain what I just saw. Dolan's jaw tightened. Sir, it was a sparring exercise. Things happen fast. I misjudged the... You misjudged nothing, the commander interrupted. His tone didn't rise, but the silence around it grew heavier. You struck a superior officer. After she called the drill to a stop. In front of 20 recruits. Dolan's lips pressed into a thin line. Phelps shifted in his seat, trying to fill the void. Sir, they were both demonstrating. The commander turned his gaze on him. Lieutenant, when was the last time you verified your instructors completed the Phase 4 evaluation you signed off on? Phelps hesitated. I'd have to check the logs. I already did, the commander said. They never did it. The air in the room flattened. Marson swallowed hard, staring at the floor. Dolan looked like he wanted to disappear. The commander clasped his hands together, elbows resting on the table. Here's what I see, an instructor elbowed a senior SEAL combat officer in the face, during a controlled drill, after an explicit stop order. And that same officer responded not with retaliation, but with restraint, then used the same protocol you ignored to demonstrate the meaning of control in front of your recruits. He stood slowly. That's the difference between noise and discipline. He looked at Reeves. Commander, you showed the kind of composure this unit claims to teach. You turned a violation into a lesson. For that, you have my respect. She nodded once. Thank you, sir. The commander's gaze swept across the others. Effective immediately, Chief Dolan and Petty Officer Marson are suspended from all instructional duties pending formal review. Lieutenant Phelps, your oversight record will be re-evaluated next week. No one argued. He reached for the remote, stopping the video on one frame, Reeves, mid-motion, blindfolded, disarming Phelps from the morning's drill. Control under pressure, the commander said softly, isn't a tactic. It's an identity. The moment you lose it, you lose the right to lead. He left the room. The door closed. Silence lingered, awkward, uncertain, heavy. Reeves didn't gloat, didn't smile. She simply exhaled once, steady, as if setting down a weight. Not victory. Just acknowledgement. Outside, word spread faster than wildfire. By evening, the mess hall buzzed with low conversation. Instructors whispered over coffee, recruits spoke in hushed tones over trays. I heard she dropped both of them blindfolded, one said. 5 rounds, another whispered. Didn't even break a sweat. Private Chen leaned in, voice low but clear. She didn't humiliate anyone. She just showed what control looks like. A senior trainee, a former Army Ranger, nodded slowly. That's what separates the loud from the real. Real operators don't need to prove it. They just are. Near the doorway, Petty Officer Hayes noticed Reeves walk past, quiet, focused, unreadable. She didn't stop, didn't glance around. Hayes raised his cup slightly. Reeves gave a small nod, then kept walking. Behind her, the chatter faded. Respect replaced gossip. The kind that isn't demanded, but earned.